I don't know what's going to happen today because I'm in control of this very special podcast. But we're here today to talk about Destiny again because Stephen, Brett, and myself have all been playing a fair amount of Destiny. So who wants to go first? Who likes it? Who dislikes it? Who isn't fussed? Burns, you're doing a funny face as if
you're scrunching.
You don't know what to say anymore.
No, it's it's fun. It's kind of fun.
Sounds
it's you shoot stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And
well, Bungie's good at that, right?
Yeah, and the shooting is really cool.
Yeah.
But you know, it's been a fair few hours now, and I'm just like, all right, I'm done. I think I'm done with Destiny. You know, if I was
so
not
much for that 10-year plan.
Yeah. If I was not obligated to
10 hours later
to review it,
I'm done.
Yeah, did I say 10 years? I meant 10 hours.
I probably, if I purchased it, I'd be like, all right. They'd probably go back, to be honest with you.
So one of the things we were talking about earlier, off air, was the Bungie's classic old phrase of 30 seconds of fun repeated. And that seems to be the entire design doc for this game, like literally. Shove the same thing at you over and over and over again. So I've not played anywhere near as much as either of you, but I've played... So I've been a bit of an odd one because I played the beta for a while. I've started my own campaign and I'm about 45 minutes into that. I haven't played it very much. And then I've also jumped into your game about 4 or 5 hours in. So I've kind of seen a bit of everything, but all over the place. One of the things I've noticed is that obviously this is a game primarily designed to be played with other friends, right? It's not a single-player game, even though you can play it single player. But I started playing it last night with 2 other friends, and they were higher level than me. I was about level 3 at the time, and they were level 8 and 9, I think, between them. And we jumped into Earth, which is the opening area, right? And we went through the initial zone, which was quite easy for me. But then we went into the next zone, which I think is the start of the second mission. And at that point, you're probably about level 3 or whatever. But in that area, there were a load of level 8 and level 9, I'm going to call them grunts, but they're not grunt, dregs or whatever you call them. And presumably they were that level because they'd scaled up to the highest people in my fire team, which was my 2 friends. But I couldn't do anything. They were one-shot killing me.
Right.
And my bullets were immune to them. It was flashing up immune because they were too high level. And I'm like, surely this is a basic. Like, I don't know how you'd get around that in terms of balancing when you're in a mixed group of...
When you just put it in the middle. Obviously, it'd make them overpowered.
But surely like that, when you come to designing a game like this, I mean, it's absolutely no fun for me. It was constantly... They were having to respawn me constantly. I was constantly dying. I couldn't shoot anything. And I was like, what's the point of me being here? Like, I'm not doing...
The way I've seen that the game that balances that is that when I tried joining Burns' game, the discrepancy between our levels meant that I couldn't go into the mission that he was on. Like,
right, okay.
I tried joining the game and it said that I couldn't do the mission because I wasn't high enough level.
Right.
So that was if you're too far away, there's too much of a distance, it won't let you play the mission.
See, I think rather than going into a mission, we were in like explore mode or whatever they call it, and we just dropped down.
But the thing is that patrol mode is a level 8 patrol. You have to be level 8 to play patrol.
Right.
That's the thing is that's why everyone in there was level 8 because to do patrol on Russia.
But then why did it allow me in there then?
I don't know. Maybe because 2 of the 3 were level 8. I don't know
It's
why.
just, I guess it's little things like that you expect to be quite basic things that they would nail and make sure that don't actually happen. Because it wasn't a good experience for me. I was sitting there like, well, I'm just going to go because this is bollocks. I'd rather just play by myself. And so initial impressions from me are not anywhere near as positive as I was expecting them to be. And that seems to be the sort of general consensus of the internet TM too. There are people that absolutely love it, and I think those guys were always going to love it.
Yeah. It's the way hype works, isn't it?
And that's fair enough. Like you said to me yesterday, like, what was it you said? Like,
well, I really enjoy it. I'm not, I'm probably one of the few at the minute based on what everyone's saying.
I don't know. I think there are a lot of people that like it. I think there are a lot of people. It's that standard internet thing of massively hyped game comes out.
Yeah.
And obviously there are going to be people that hate it.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I really like Halo and the way that the basic gameplay mechanics work within that. And because of that, this just really clicks with me. And I didn't expect it to because of the way the game's supposed to work, because I don't like Borderlands. And I thought this was just going to be Halo plus Borderlands equals Destiny. And
is it not that then?
Well, it's more Halo than Borderlands in terms of, because the problem I have with Borderlands is that it throws so much information at you on the screen that I lose interest. When you pick up a new gun, if there was so much shit your way to say, oh, learn all this, and I think, oh, I can't be interested. Whereas
Yeah.
Halo, although you do have the monotony of this gun looks exactly the same as the gun I just had before, every assault, scout rifle looks the same, every pulse rifle looks the same, apart from the colour of it. The actual design looks the same.
You could say that about a lot of the things.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
I
that's true. But that's what I'm saying is you do have that monotony that
Yeah.
I was talking to Burns, and I was saying to you that Candy Crush has more mission variety than Destiny does. so in terms, you are doing the same thing, but because I enjoy that same basic mechanic.
Yeah.
And where I find variety is taking missions on solo, taking them on with friends, doing a mission on hard when I'm vastly underpowered, playing the game differently.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I'm finding the mission variety is, and also doing it as the 3 different classes as well.
Yeah.
Because of the way we're playing the game in work, Burns is a Titan, I'm a Hunter, I think Jim's a Warlock, so we're learning how to approach missions differently.
Right,
in that way, I'm finding variety in that regard.
But can you approach missions differently? I mean, this is something we briefly discussed on the regular podcast yesterday, in that the missions seem to just be put Guilty Spark down. I'm going to keep calling that because clearly that
Dinklebot.
Dinklebot. And protect him against waves of enemies.
Oh no!
Like,
the actual.
Like, how else can you approach that? You run up to it, you push your square button.
Oh yeah, that's the exact same. I'm talking about how you approach the enemies.
But how do you approach the enemies? Like, is
Well,
there a reward for being stealthy? Like, what's the...
Oh, no, not stealthy, but like for Burns as a Titan, because I played as a Titan as well in the beta, but for him, he can... Like, we played a strike mission together yesterday, I think it was, and it was a hard mission for both of us, even though Burns was like a level 12 and I was a level 8, and Burns was able to get right into the fight and, take a good amount... Because I died a few times, because again, I was like underpowered for what it was, and Burns was able to get pummeled, and get loads of bullets at him, and he could survive it. Whereas me, I had to get my sniper rifle out and stay at the top of the cavern and just try and pick off as many as I could before jumping in, use my throwing knife and try and pick off the ones I took a lot of damage out of, melee them and then get away again. That was the only thing that I could do. So in that regard, there is some sort of variety there as well.
So how do strike missions differ from normal missions?
I think they're the ones where...
They're the ones that you have to do in co-op, right?
Yeah, and I think the main difference is with the missions that you do in the campaign. Like you say, the way it works is you go somewhere, Dinklebot comes out, you do a horde-based wave, enemies come forth. Whereas with the strike ones, you're going out to kill a giant boss at the end.
Yeah, you're pushing through various areas and waves to then meet a big bad at the end. And it has to be cooperative, essentially. Like it'll give you random players.
Yeah.
If you're not in a team. Or,
there has to be
you.
4 people. Like if me and Burns hooked up, then it will give us 2 other people to do the strike as well,
Right, yeah.
because the enemy is simply too powerful to do.
Those ones are better in a way because you feel like there is a sense of progression. Like there's one on Mars that we just did where you're pushing towards a monolith essentially, and Mars has had some really good, because of the topography of the place, you have like really good sniping spots in canyons and shit like that. And Mars is really, really good. It's probably the best of the planet so far.
I watched you play a bit yesterday, and it looked amazing. But
yeah, and so you push on through, and it feels like the game is building in those missions. It feels like it's building to something, an encounter, which is what it is. That it's not anywhere else. If you shoot hordes of dregs on the way in, and then the encounter at the end is shooting hordes of dregs on the way out.
Yeah,
it feels like work after playing, because I play it quite a lot. I have to session it for work essentially. Is after lunchtime, it's like okay, now I've got to go here, and all I'm doing is watching a health bar and then some other health bars. I think the danger of Destiny is its hype and its developer pedigree is that people are trying to. They're basing it on the game that exists only within their own head, and that is also part of the marketing's fault. But
they're always going to hype up their own game. You can't blame them for that.
No,
but I
mean
think
players.
The way they've talked about it though. We mentioned this briefly,
I rarely believe anything that I hear from a PR guy or a publisher because most of it is fucking shite. But Molyneux, you can drop this, that sort of shit. But
here's your Acorn.
Yeah, but with I actually took my original Xbox back. I got it on day one with Halo, expecting this amazing thing. And I was like, what?
You didn't like Halo?
No.
What?
I touched down on the beach and I was like, right, this is it. Let's shoot some aliens. And then this like dwarf alien ran out making a funny Ewok noise. And I just went, that's the moment, and it went back.
Burns.
It's literally,
Come on
it
now.
went back that afternoon.
Have you ever played it since?
No.
You've never played the original Halo?
No.
Burns, what is going on?
And so, and I really loved Halo 3's multiplayer, but I'm not really impressed by Bungie as everyone else is. So, coming into Destiny, I was like, sounds pretty cool. Let's see what they've got. But I think a lot of people are coming and going, oh, Halo's the greatest story of all time. It's got the best gameplay. All the PvP's amazing. And then they're like, oh my God, I'm so
Yeah, I think on a technical, the technical side of Bungie, I think they're really quite skilled at that. What they did for Xbox Live. But you look back at some of their stuff, like Halo 2 campaign was pretty weak. I wasn't that fussed by Halo 3's campaign. And I brought this up yesterday on the podcast. Was it the podcast? Might have been the live stream. I was like, don't quite get the hype for Bungie as much as a lot of other people do. But I think one of the things that you mentioned before, Burns, was that the feel that you don't really have that sense of exploration and that grand kind of adventure. Like when I was standing out, I was looking over onto the horizon on the Earth map yesterday, old Russia. And in the distance, you can see all this stuff and the big sort of canyons and all that. And I was sitting there thinking, if this was Fallout and I could actually go there, this would be amazing. That is next gen. And I feel like they kind of sold it that's how it would be. And it's not that at all. Essentially, it just feels like a sense of linear corridors and then a little open square box in which you can have some fights in.
Yeah, because I tried that as well. Because the two problems I discovered is that, like you say, the sense of discovery and exploration, I realised that if I did that, I tried going off the beaten path, I was actually disrupting the game flow because I was on... Where was I? I was on Venus I was on the moon. And... The map was telling me to go right, but there was this little tunnel to the left. I thought, okay, well, I'll try going down there. I'll go back to the mission in a little bit. So I went there, and there was a load of enemies there, and I killed them. Nothing in there in terms of no story progression, no hidden loot, no nothing. So, all right, I'll go back, did the part of the mission that it was telling me to, and then what I discovered was the route to the left was actually the part I was supposed to do after doing the bit to the right. So all that happened was I was going ahead, I was doing step C before doing B. So when you try and explore, all you're doing is disrupting the path that the game is trying to get you to go on. Yeah. In missions, that's all you're often doing.
Yeah.
You're not.
Because it's the patrol missions are actually quite good if you want to, maybe explore is too grand a term. If you want to see the planet as it stands, and so you can go around the moon. There'll be enemy, and you find these little nodes, and then you get missions out of those. Dinklebot says, "Oh, we can finally do what we want," but really, you can just lap. Is a lap of the moon, shall we say? And it's pretty cool because you get to see all of the awesome environmental stuff, and that feels a lot more like you are actually part of a cohesive kind of planet rather than just a mission fenced off in a bit of a planet. But you can't. And again, it is a shooter, but it just feels like a bit of a wasted opportunity to have these amazing things, and the only way you can interact with it is by shooting it. Yeah, I don't want to sound like I wish we could talk to the monsters, but I do think that
you want to feel like you're part of the world, though, and that you're having an impact on the world.
I feel like I'm just riding around on my Star Wars speeder bike, jumping off and shooting people. I've killed a lot of people. At the end of every mission, I think I've killed about 200 people. It's like,
the KD ratios that you see of other people when they're doing the campaign is insane.
It's just but when's it going to change? Probably not.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I don't really know what to compare it to. We sound a bit...
Titanfall was a good one to compare it to as a first step in a franchise because...
Yeah, but I'm not talking that. I'm talking in terms of... So we've established that the missions aren't very good. So if you approach it from like you would a sort of campaign shooter...
Right, I see what you're saying.
Like you're not going to enjoy this, I wouldn't have thought. If you approach it as a multiplayer game that you can piss about with your mates, well, you kind of have to play it through it together at the same stages, and that might be quite awkward to play because the balancing seems to be off in terms of other people being different levels to you.
As long as you're not too far away in terms of levels, then it's not too bad.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's one of those. I said this yesterday. It feels like one where there should be so much to talk about. Yet,
but it
doesn't feel like there is very much to talk about at all.
The game is constantly. This is what I wrote yesterday. Excuse me. Is that the game's constantly telling me that I'm evolving and that it's evolving and that there are new planets to go to and new intrigues to be a part of and new weapons to use, but it all feels exactly the same. I don't feel any different apart. The Yeah, do you know the biggest thing that happened to me in this game was that I learned that I could double jump. Double jump changed the entire game for me, and it hasn't changed since. It's like, oh, you can get a new Sparrow. It's like, cool.
Yeah.
I'm still a speed bloke. You got a new gun, same as the last one, just that bar depletes a bit quicker.
Yeah.
I can't, I'm praying for like a sword or something,
Yeah.
Something that would change the attitude towards how I go in rather than more DACA,
There are so
very
many
flat.
things that just sort of... Oh, shit, I've kicked my microwave.
Oh, my
Bloody
life.
hell.
Where's
Rock
Brad?
and
Call
roll.
him.
Bring him back. It feels like so many things that kind of take you out of the game world and have that disconnect. So I haven't seen this for myself yet, but I had the person I was playing with yesterday was telling me that when you meet people in the game world, and obviously like it's an MMO light to some degree, so you're going to have to do that. Obviously they'll be doing their own missions or they'll be doing whatever they're doing in their world. It won't necessarily be doing what you're doing. And even though you can kind of team up with them and fight with them on the fly, like they could walk somewhere into a cave or into a door, whatever, and they'll just disappear.
Yeah, they fuck off.
And that's it.
Yeah.
But it's like, but surely this is a game that's designed for that not to happen, where you can feel like, I've met this other explorer, I've met this other guardian, and we will just suddenly, we'll go on this adventure together.
That's what I thought.
That's
I
how
had
they
that.
sold it.
Yeah, I had that. Where
Suddenly they're pissed off, they're gone.
Yeah, massive open space. Fight was kicking off. I thought I'll go and help this guy out, and I could tell we were both doing the exact same mission because once all the enemies were dead, we both went to the same bit, which is the start of the respawn restricted section. And as soon as that kicked in for both of us, he did that thing where he disappeared into thin air, like when you're doing the domination mode and the flag starts disintegrating. That happened. I thought, where the fuck's he gone?
That's the thing, and that's what makes it feel like a game. And I understand there's technical limitations on that. I don't know exactly what they are, but I understand that maybe that needs to happen. But it takes away that sense of persistency in the world and actually feeling a part, and everyone's a part of it. But
there is no way to engage with them unless you do a stupid fuck off dance in front of them. You can't actually actively engage with them.
Yeah.
Well, there's no chat either, is there?
That's what I mean. Yeah.
In the tower, you can click R3 to invite them to your fire team, then go on mission.
Yeah.
But
in
game, I was trying it so. One of the guys that I was playing with in the fire team, we started and we were underpowered. There were only two of us. I saw someone else who was, helping us out. He was doing the same thing we were doing. I was trying to invite him. He should just be able to click R3 in on him and be like, and just, it's just stuff like that. Again, you got to.
It's quite cool. There aren't any games that really do that, really on console at least, where there's people running around your world and you can invite them into your
But there are
team.
too few people running around my world. Yeah. And also the tower. The tower fucks me off. Like I have to go through 2 loading screens to sell something to a dude.
Yeah.
To go through another loading screen in a bit to do what? It's like, why would I give a shit about any you can do a dance, you can show other. I don't care.
That's what it is, though. It's a game about vanity, isn't it? It is a game about. It's about getting nicer. I said this as well. Nicer looking arse flags, things that your little. What do you call them?
Emblems and stuff.
Yeah, like things to show off. And
Destiny's like working out for people who are incredibly vain. It's just a bunch of repetitive number-based tasks to make you look slightly better.
And that's fine. You know what? Like, we all spend money on hair gel to look better.
Well,
sorry, Dave.
Is that? Oh shit! Now I've run over my headphones.
he's gone all nervous. He's gone all shy.
No, but you know what I mean. Like, there's a place for games like that. But
if I want to use hair
and that
gel,
is MMOs,
I don't
right?
have to shoot 500 people before I. It's a very competent shooting game, which can be thrilling, can be tense. Not really. There is some strategy there, but the wrapper around it is so dull as to render the shooting after a while just completely repetitive, and that is a shame. Like if I'm, if I'm going to Mars to fight shit, I just don't want them to be different enemies. I want, why isn't the environment and these planets changing? Why above a visual thing? Why is the gravitational pull? Why is everyone not just floating around? Why isn't there? And again, that's probably down to them going, oh well, we need to make sure the classes work and stuff, but. It's an ambitious game in terms of what they said it was going to be, but in actuality, there's not anything really ambitious about it in terms of its underlying mechanics.
Yeah. So what were you expecting that it isn't?
Well, I didn't expect much from it, really. and not as in much, as in I didn't expect it to be very good, as in I really hadn't played any Halo game past 3. I know it did Reach, etc., and then they're off. And I was never a huge fan of the developer. And so I was like, okay, well, let's just see what this game is. You know, I didn't have my Destiny fanboy hat on. I didn't have my I Hate Destiny hat on. So I wasn't like hyped for it, but I was interested in it because it obviously, you know, a lot had gone into it. And I'm not talking about the hype, but if Bungie says it's going to spend X, Y, and Z time, let alone money on something, you've got to be interested in what they've got. And so far, it's a very capable shooting game that just isn't as interesting as a lot of other ones.
I was worried that I thought it would just be Borderlands in space. Mm-hmm. And even though I was concerned about that initially, I'm kind of hoping that it was more like Borderlands in space. Because like Borderlands gets a lot of things wrong. Like I think the loot stuff is a little bit silly and you don't really give a shit about the guns because you just get a new one every 30 seconds. Yeah. And I think that takes something away. But at least in that, you feel like you're moving through the world and you're meeting new characters within the world where you get new quests. And I think that's a big part of Destiny that's missing, is that you don't have that same progression. You're just constantly on that loop of fly back into orbit and then your dude says, you got to go here.
I think Dinklebot is a very poor narrative choice. I tweeted yesterday saying that its narrative clarity at the moment is on par with Alien 3's theatrical cut. A lot of people are like, man, that's the most cutting thing I've ever heard. Alien 3's theatrical cut makes literally, genuinely no sense to if you look at it. And all I know about Destiny so far is that there's a tiny computer that wants me to kill everyone on certain planets. And I'm hoping that the end is that you're the bad guy.
Yeah, well, it turns out...
pretty much. Well, spoiler alert.
Jeez, Brett.
Whoa.
Oh, come on now.
Am I going to have to put a spoiler warning on this?
Spoiler quack
Look
on
at
there.
Dave about to touch the laptop like he knows
touch
where
it. Just
to add
just write down
notes.
Brett, I'm new to this. I don't know what I'm doing. Is there a spoiler
drop you know, I don't want it to be like Mass Effect or whatever and I'm off to see whoever. But it would be cool if a lot of the missions were generated on those planets and that they were actually different. So instead of me going back to the tower to see the bounty hunter, why can't I meet the bounty hunter on, you know, wherever?
Yeah.
And they have, when you do the patrol missions, they have the little notes. And you're like, oh, right, finally, we're going to do some missions that are just about this planet. But they're not. They're all the same. Kill 10 guys to pick up their shards. Yeah. That's pretty much it. And why isn't there, you know, some actual factions apart from whoever on, you know, Mars who are like, or Venus? Like,
Well, this is one of the other things. Like the way that it opens, that cinematic is nice. Like the presentation, Bungie's presentation is lovely. And that cinematic where you...
It's the best thing about it, that opening cinematic.
Yeah, and you touch down. It's Mars. You touch down, or is it the moon?
Mars, and you got a big gun.
Yeah, and I kind of thought that would be the story, right? Exploring the origins maybe of how we're setting out into the solar system and getting a bit of backstory onto humanity and civilization and all that sort of shit. But is there any of that? Not so far, right? You haven't finished it, right?
No, I'm at level 16 now. And so I'm making my way through Mars. But again,
But what was that all about? Is that just a sort of pre-game atmosphere building thing that means nothing, or is there an actual the actual cinematic?
I think that's where they discover the Traveller, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's the start of humanity's golden age.
That's like
so that's years in the past, because the tech that they're using is like a lunar module, essentially.
Right. It's a lunar lander, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
They think they're making the first steps towards Mars, and they look and they realise, oh, hang on a minute, when the first one's here.
But I was kind of hoping that they would explore more of like because it's set in the future, obviously. Mm-hmm. I was hoping that they'd fill in the gaps between that point and where you are today, who the Guardians are, what's happened to...
A lot of it is lore that you have to read on the website, I think, on Bungie.net.
Yeah, they keep saying every time you get a Grimoire card.
That's rubbish. Like the game should... And again, I think it comes down to the fact that Dinklage, or Dinklebot, is such a poor storytelling device. Like having a loading screen where it goes, now we've got to go here and do this. I don't feel like an explorer. Like I said, I feel like a grunt. I feel like my sergeant is saying, go get down and shoot people now, and we'll tell you more later. I don't feel like I'm pushing a narrative or pushing anything. I feel like I'm just pushing a fucking trigger, essentially, and that's all.
The story's presented, it's not told. It's literally laid in front of you, and if you want to interpret it or take whatever you want from it, then do it. But it's never actually told to us. It's never integrated into what you're doing. It's always a case of here. It's like the start of Star Wars, where it just says, here's the basic thing, then you go, and imagine Star Wars with just that front text and then just no dialogue.
And then every time they went to a different planet, it just had another scroll.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's just literally, it puts it out in front of you like a PowerPoint presentation, then drops you down, and it says that's all you need to know. There's no conveyance of story in terms of, this is why you're doing this. It's simply you're doing this.
I'm wondering if they ran out of time. I don't want to say that it's unfinished, but I just don't. I think it's in a lot of ways quite half baked.
Yeah, well, we were saying this as well. Like it feels like a great base.
Yeah,
but they haven't built on it in the way that they should have done, and a lot of it feels quite lazy. I think the design of it is quite lazy.
Why aren't there towers on the planets? Why aren't there like trading posts on the?
Yeah. Why aren't there good missions, Burns? Why is there just one mission type?
Why isn't there not like a fire team mission where you have to assassinate a high-ranking something or other, and then you can finally use the topography and the geography to get, just something like that, something different. Why I've started to find a few vehicles around places, especially on Mars, but so what?
Yeah.
Like I don't need those for anything so far. I might as well just run.
Considering what's come before Destiny, it feels like it shuns everything that it could have been inspired by. Like if it had a touch of Borderlands silliness, if it had a lot of Mass Effect structure.
I don't think it even needed Borderlands silliness. It just needed something more engaging.
But just a tiny bit, because there's some cutscenes where Dinklage tries to add some humour to the story.
Right.
And you think, well, yeah, I'm starting...
Bit of claptrap.
Exactly, I'm starting to get a bit of that, and that's nice, but it's not enough of it. And you think, why hasn't it got more of Mass Effect's approach to hub worlds and to mission structure, where it doesn't just plonk you and say, start pulling the trigger. It actually gives you a chance of excavation and exploring, like we were just talking about as well. Why isn't it not bringing more in from the wider context? Why is it just simply saying, no, we're just doing the same thing every mission now? It feels like it could have been a lot more, like you were saying before.
But it's quite compulsive, though. Like it's shooting.
Oh, definitely.
So good.
It's definitely one more go.
Oh, yeah.
5 more minutes. And then you end up there for another hour. No, I can see that, definitely.
So,
fair enough. So what has Bungie achieved? Anything? Is this the future of games?
It's achieved a lot of money.
yeah.
Well, other than that,
An
I mean,
awful
is
lot.
there actually anything here where you think, actually, this is something that is a great mechanic or a great structure or
I think it's a
technology that...
in terms of its art design and its technical design, I think that it's fantastic, and it's the game that you could show people. It's another game you could show your friends who didn't really know about new gen consoles. You could load the moon mission, look down at all the textures or whatever, and then you could look at the part of the moon that's just been fractured off, and then see Earthrise or whatever, and that's fucking cool. It looks great. I don't think that it's anything beyond that. A very pretty, a very high level, as in like very well executed, good looking game with one mission type. It feels a bit like the start of something.
Yeah, but that's the thing. When you say the start of something, I think that's the one thing that people can be comforted by, is because of how committed Bungie remain to this project and the way they've talked about it all the way through. And
Project.
Football chat.
You didn't just say that.
But because of the way they have talked about it, you could come back to this game in 6 months, 8 months, and it'll be something not completely different, but there'll be so much more to it, and there's going to be a sequel that's going to have so much going on, so much more built on top of it, that you just think, this is a solid footing going forward, like we've seen with a lot of new IPs in the past, and even with ones that are out now, like Titanfall and the like. We know that there's going to be so much more going forward, and it gives you a lot, to look forward to. And we've got the DLC to come as well, which they've already shown, like the season pass, which got 2 packs.
I just hope there's something to that, because I don't know, like I get the impression it's a new area on the moon, possibly the first one, but I hope there's just a decent mission behind it, or a decent narrative. There's a report that's going around at the moment from one of the things that Bungie said, I can't remember how long ago, but they compared it, like they wanted it to be the new Star Wars, and they were talking about their narrative and the power of that. And it's like, it's talk like that when you can't live up to it, that's going to be your downfall, essentially. So yeah, I think Destiny is good. Just don't think it's anywhere near as I think it's quite underwhelming. and a little bit disappointing considering where it's come from and what they've said about it and all that. But you can't blame them for talking about it that way because that's their job.
Yeah, they got to sell it, haven't they? And Star Wars is a really simple film, like the original Star Wars. It's a really simple film told really well. So, and Destiny, on the other hand, is a really grand idea done kind of well in some regards,
but with no story.
Exactly. So, like Dinkle, but like there's a section where you go into the my life. You go to see the Space Queen, and for some
the reef bit.
Thank you. And for some reason, and she's just like lounging around on a massive throne.
Yeah.
And the dialogue is fucking shit. And then her brother is giving you loads of sass. And you're like, can this fuck off? Like, class. It's like they just watched like loads of sci-fi and went, how do we make all these people rubbish?
I can't remember the lines.
It's terrible.
There's a line where she goes, he fears the fallen, but he doesn't know they work for me. Like,
oh my life.
But it just builds on tropes of like old Halo games as well, like the Flood. Like, isn't that just the Hive?
Yeah.
Like, get some inspiration. Like, I don't know. Have you tried any of the competitive stuff?
Either of you? PvP?
Yeah.
Yeah, I shot some people.
Is it just Halo?
It is just Halo.
Yeah.
And
with less modes.
In Halo, I suppose my favourite map in Halo 3 is the obvious one, the one, this is years ago, I can't remember what it's fucking called, the one in the desert where it's got like the kind of two places, and it's got the massive kind of troop carrier that you can get in and run around and capture the flag flag right in the middle. Really cool. In this, and I've only played a little bit of it, so, but so far, no vehicles, very kind of small settings.
The only vehicles that I've experienced is the one from the beta, that map, I can't remember what it's called. It's the one on the moon where you can get in the pikes, and in the beta there was tanks, but I think I've taken them out.
Oh right, they were quite powerful. Those tanks,
yeah, they were well
OP.
Yeah.
So hopefully see more, but again,
is it balanced though? Because one of the concerns I had from the beta was that obviously it carries over your progression and your items from your I was going to say single player, but the campaign essentially.
It feels it, yeah, because there's a.
But then if I'm a level 3 with a level 3 gun,
it turns that off.
Yeah,
it normalizes the weapons
level balance.
Ah, right, okay.
And it'll pair you with level 3.
But you still get your gear. So I think the gear carries over.
Yeah, but again, you're paired like you will not face a level 8 in multiplayer. You'll face level 3s.
Will you?
Level 3s, 5s. You won't end up against a level 12.
Okay, fair enough.
From what I've played anyway, because that was the thing I was asking Burns as well, because it says level advantages are balanced, but again, like Burns said, the weapons remain the same. So if you manage to stumble across a rare item for your character, you'll get that bonus, which is just how it works. So
I'd quite like to try. It's just I didn't like the maps in the beta. There was one on possibly Venus.
Is it the Ancient Ruin one where you got where you have to jump on that central platform?
There was that one, and there was the Moon one, and I wasn't particularly fond of either one.
Well, the Ancient Ruin one works a lot better in team deathmatch because it's smaller and more confined. It's a really good team deathmatch map.
I enjoyed what I played in TDM. Again, that's maybe down to my team. Obviously, a lot of team shooters. If your team are rubbish, you're not going to have a good time. But it didn't feel like I could be a lone wolf like in Call of Duty. It felt like I actually had to work as a team, even if we weren't speaking over a headset. And so it's quite a satisfying game in that regard. But again, is there enough of it? Is there enough variation within it?
How many maps are there? There isn't many.
Don't know.
It doesn't seem to be that many. But you made the good point of like one clip isn't enough to kill people a lot of the time, especially with the axes. So that's why it's good to go in pairs. Like with Call of Duty, like say you'll run around a corner and you can be dead within seconds, or you can kill an entire room full of people. Whereas this, that's where the cooperative element comes in, is that you need 2 people to take down a single guy with most guns. And that's why this feels, like I say, even if you are at a disadvantage to someone else's gun, you can still stay in a fight because you have time to escape once you do take some fire and stuff like that as well.
Yeah. So Destiny, sum it up in one word, quick fire, go, Brett.
Dinklebot.
The same. Dinklebot.
That's 2 words.
Dinklebot. I mean, the same as his.
I thought you were saying the same as in it's the same throughout the entire experience.
So glad you came to me first, because I think everyone's going to go with Dinklebot.
Dinklebot.
Yeah.
Dinklebot.
So there you go. I'm going to go and oust Bratters from his position because I quite like sitting behind a desk. I don't feel like I'm as mischievous as I am the other side as
Now
well.
you're
Very
working for the
formal,
man.
yeah. Although you have kicked your mic and nearly dragged the wire out.
I do need to go and inform him of a spoiler.
Dave, you're dangerously close to pulling the plug out.
Oh,
That's
oh,
that,
my life.
That would have been incredibly dangerous. So yeah,
How tight the wire is because of his chair. It's dangerous.
should we wrap it up before this goes
Before the lights go and everything.
absolutely disastrous? All right, thank you very much. We're
Later.
Back next week with more Video Gamer Podcast products.
Bye.